First thing I have to mention, because I noticed it randomly when watching, some of the producers are the Weinstein brothers. You gotta look up their shit because there's too much about them. I found out that they were bad people from James A. Janice's new kill counts on the Scream movies of all things, but yeah, they're pretty terrible people. And they helped make this movie, unfortunately. Just like they helped make Scream 3. And I'm pretty sure they helped to make some of the original Screams. Helped, not, officially made the whole thing by themselves. Anyways, now let's talk about the actual movie. It's a pretty decent plot, but it's kind of all over the place. And it makes me feel so conflicted with some things. So I'll get into more detail after I explain the plot. This kid's favorite thing is clowns, apparently. It's his birthday. And, the clown canceled at, the last second. And they obviously need a new clown. And you can't just book someone to show up right now. Like, hey, I would like to schedule. Well, I want you to come right this second. Like, that's not gonna work. Maybe if you, bribed them and said, hey, if you get here in, I don't know, 2 minutes, and said they'll give them, $5,000 or something, maybe. But, obviously you can't book someone the day it's happening. So he's a realtor. He owns a bunch of houses to sell or whatever. And there's a clown suit there. So he wears it, and he can't take it off. So we get more detail about that later, because he calls the brother of the owner, because the brother died. And he tells him that the suit is a demon, and that the whole clown thing came from that legend, and it was eventually forgotten. It was called the Coin or something. It was close to clown. And it was a demon that ate children, and then eventually it became the clown. Which then the clown was used to entertain children, and he is like, well, the irony of that is, if only they knew. And I noticed it was kind of a pattern that, basically all the good people got the fucking demon for whatever reason. Just from the main characters that we know. The brother that got it wanted to entertain cancer patients. And not only cancer patients, child cancer patients. And he wore the clown suit to entertain them. So he became the demon and started eating children after he just wanted to help sick children. And then obviously the main character of the movie, the only reason he becomes the clown is because he wants to help his son. Instead of just, being like, well, I can't make it in time, I got work to do. Or, some bullshit that would normally see in the clown, in a normal movie, not a normal clown movie. He wants to help his son, so he wears the costume. So, that's a pretty good father. Thinking on his feet because he wants to entertain his son, and he gets there pretty fast, too. The dog eats it, so the dog turns too. The dog eats, the nose after she pries it off. This movie is sometimes kind of corny, and this was where I get conflicted. It's, corny and cheesy at times. Other times it's, not very scary. They have a moment where she hears a noise. Nothing really bad has happened yet. They haven't even gotten to the horror part yet. And they're trying to scare you. So she goes outside, and then her dad appears behind her, and then they play a jump scare noise. It's not scary. Then there's like so corny lines. Like there's a line like days after the kid's birthday where he's like, I want to see my number one birthday boy come downstairs, and it's supposed to be creepy or something. It's just so fucking corny. Not to mention they have cheesy horror stereotypes. Like not even the normal, oh, you know, going to find a noise and they get murdered, or a girl tripping a lot when being chased. They have like the most basic things that don't matter in horror movies, like a girl being pregnant. That is something that is always thrown into horror movies for some reasons that usually don't matter. And when they do matter, it's just only for like a one-off serious moment where they get into an argument, or the girl's stressing out and she starts venting, and just something like that. So of course we get that. We find out she's pregnant early in the movie. Then in a later scene, she tries to get him to come back home after he runs away. And at the end of the sentence, she's like, I'm pregnant. Like, you know what I'm talking about if you've seen horror movies. Seen a bunch of them. It's just so stupid. But there's at times where it's genuinely creepy, but it's a B movie, so the gore isn't the best. He straight up breaks one of his friend's arm, Dave, so I guess he has like increased strength as the clown or whatever, even though he's not even close to transforming yet. He basically just has a wig on and makeup right now. He starts transforming when he gets into the car. But he fucking breaks the dude's arm by accident. And the dude was he was out of line, but they act like he was the only one doing dumb shit. He goes over there and he's like, I can't get this costume off. It's freaking me out. I tried everything. His costume won't come off. And the dude's like, just take it off. And then he comes over there and starts yanking on his fucking hair. Like, what a prick. So he tries to get him off of him and he breaks his arm. And then they all look at him like he's a bad guy. He should have explained it better, because that scene was kind of hard to watch with how bad he was at explaining. But he still, explained it enough that they shouldn't have been that stupid. But yeah, I can really see a good movie in this. And at times it is a really good movie. There was one thing that I actually expected, even though I haven't seen this movie in a while. And that was the F slur. It gets dropped twice in this movie. And not only does it get dropped twice, it's dropped by a kid actor both times. One of them is the kid saying it to the kid that he's bullying. And then like 5 minutes later, the kid that was there with the kid that said the F slur, because there was two bullies that were bullying someone. Later, they decide that he needs to use the F slur and tell us the exact scene that we literally just had happen not too long ago. He's playing a video game online with two of his friends. One of them we don't know anything about. The other one is the bully that was in the other scene. And they're like, well, we need to describe the scene that we just did. So he says the F slur and describes exactly what we already saw happen. They also have the wife start to believe the whole demon thing off screen. Like, she comes to his house and she starts driving him home, and later we like cut to her locking him in a basement, chaining him up, and she believes him now. Like, she goes to the house to get him to come home, and now she believes him or whatever. It's weird. And the dude that plays the dude that like owned the costume or whatever is from John Wick, from the John Wick 2 opening scene. He was like the dude that John Wick came to get his car or whatever. what else? Oh, they I was about to criticize it, but then they actually did talk about it. Was that they were like, "Oh, why didn't you destroy the suit?" So he lists a bunch of things that they tried. They tried burning it in acid, stuff like that. I don't get the acid thing though. Like, yeah, whatever, it's indestructible. Why would they take it out? Most people aren't gonna put their hands in acid for a clown costume. So I'm assuming they could have just left it in the acid. Or a volcano. Most people aren't gonna go dipping in lava for a clown costume. Like, there was ways they could have done it. Sure, it can be destroyed, but problem solved. Or, fucking, I don't know, burying it in a grave. Burying it in your yard. I mean, there's safer ways than putting it in a case in your house where when you eventually die, someone else is going to get it. Or let's just say, I don't know, maybe you let your friend take care of it after you die. Let's say they just never fully believed you, and then they try it on. I mean, I don't know, locking it in your basement and then dying, so then later when your house is getting sold, someone else wears it, didn't really seem like the best option. They tried to say, well, we couldn't just throw it in the ocean because someone might eventually find it or whatever. When that's a pretty slim thing, because the ocean's fucking huge. It's not like they were going to throw it in a pond or a lake. The ocean? The ocean? Okay. I mean, yeah, someone definitely could have found it in the ocean. But it definitely would have been better than putting it in a chest in the attic. That's so dumb. And like I said, I think the volcano and acid thing probably would have been the smartest. Because most people aren't going to put their hands in those type of things. Or literally try and just get out a costume. But whatever. And there's like so many dramatic moments that I think were, really good. Or just, things that are good just by thinking about it. Like where she's told that she has to give him one more kid because he needs 5 kids to eat for the winter because the clown demon hibernates or whatever. So he's already eaten 4 kids. 2 of them were more shown. The other 2 were just kind of told about. And they actually do get pretty violent with kid deaths, which was not something I was expecting on rewatch. One kid gets his brain thrown at the TV after having a little gag about the fact that he's done for. That he died in the video game and it said he's done for when he died. But then later we see his body and it's decently brutal for, a kid's death. And one kid gets his fingers bitten off. Another gets a saw into him, but that they don't explicitly show that one. We see a little blood mark on his back. But anyways, the girl, there's this little girl that apparently went to the same place of the wife's work or something. She saw her at the dentist a few times. She thought she was nice. And her mom, for some reason, liked to drop her off at a kids play place and just left. I understand when a mom or a parent obviously drops off a kid at their friend's house, but at a ball pit. Yeah, sure, honey, I'll be back in 3 hours while you play in a ball pit. Okay, whatever. So she gets dropped off there, and her only hope is this random woman that she barely knows that she thought was, nice when she saw her at the dentist's office. And she betrays her trust because she wants to save her husband. But she does try and help her in the end. Eventually she gets to like the place that the clown told him to go to or whatever. And she like opens up the door, kicks the kid out and says that's her house. Even though there's clearly not really a house around, but the kid trusts her. I think you would like look at the window and see that there's no house. But she's a kid, so whatever. And then she like reaches over, shuts the door real quick and locks it. And the kid still somewhat trusts her for some reason. She's like, oh, my house isn't here. My house isn't here. I don't see my house. Like, she's not like, oh, hey, what are you doing? She's like, oh, yeah, my house isn't here. I think you took me to the wrong place. Very smart kid. And then she, like, begs her to let her in. So eventually she, opens the door and he tries to let her in, tries to pull her into the car again. And then the kid freaks out, like she wanted to be in the car. She even says it's scary outside, but for some reason she's scared to get in the car. And then like a police officer comes and he hilariously does his job very well. He doesn't like handcuff her to the steering wheel or something. He chases after the girl because the girl's scared and runs away. So he just like, stay here. He doesn't do anything to keep her there. Maybe even like shoot her wheel or something. I don't know. There's not much you can do in that situation, but just saying stay here to someone that committed kidnapping, they're probably not going to listen, bro. Sorry to burst her bubble. So, of course, like, she realizes that Jack's probably in trouble, so she says Jack, and the scene ends, so they don't even care to, show her drive off. Because it's pretty obvious what the cop did was useless. And then we get like the final showdown, which I thought was pretty good, though I did think it was a little dumb how they ended up killing the clown. Not the actual killing of the clown, but the reason she killed the clown. The little 7-year-old child doesn't recognize the dad now that he's like full out killer clown mode. And she's like, don't you want to save your dad? And he's like, that's not my dad. So she kills it. And not only does she kill the clown, she contradicts herself from earlier. Because she was about to kill the clown, but she decided to stop herself because that's her husband. And she's like, Jack, don't look away. But she doesn't kill it. When she does decide to kill it, she kills it right in front of him. Jack, don't look, but look this time. Okay, that makes sense. And she's pregnant or whatever, but they don't like end it with her having a baby now and Jack. Honestly, I am very conflicted about this movie. It's just something else. I do think another studio could have made this movie better. It's just so corny and cheesy at times, but pretty decently scary at times. And then at other times, it tries way too hard to be scary. But yeah, I guess that's about it for this movie.